Welcome to the Texas Truck Podcast. I'm Craig.
I'm Brian.
And, well, Brian,
Craig.
we've got some news for the listeners, all five.
Yep.
And one is that we have a new channel.
Oh, yeah, this is super simple. We basically get cars enough that our truck viewers on Texas Truck Channel don't want to see them on their feed. So we have now TTC cars as sub-channel for sports cars and sedans, which is mostly sports cars, if we're honest.
Absolutely. And we also have another channel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, man, I'm behind on that one. What do we call that channel again?
Unplugged Garage. I'm glad we're having this podcast because we have forgotten what we're doing ourselves. We've been so busy in all seriousness.
Honestly, I'm not joking. We have 4 or 5 episodes in the edit queue that I probably won't get to for another couple weeks.
Because we've had so many cars.
Look, as priority goes in edit, Texas Truck Channel is priority 1.
Yep.
TTC car is not as high volume, so it's kind of lateral though.
Right.
But the Texas Truck Channel is our bread and butter. Then Unplugged Garage.
Right.
And podcast is just mixed in somewhere between all of those.
Somewhere when we have time after all that.
Right.
So,
Because right now, Craig, we're in San Francisco in a hotel room because we have no time to do this when we're home.
Exactly.
So instead of going to bed for our flight tomorrow, we're making a podcast here.
Okay, so explain to them what the third channel is.
Oh, Unplugged Garage is basically us being idiots with our off-roaders.
Yes.
And it is...
Or any other vehicle we may have.
Right. Well, like the unplugged part came from some EV frustrations that we've had. Not that we write EVs off, and we still review them, and we've kind of come around on them. And we've
You're just trying to get us canceled.
We've just submitted that they're going to be here. We've submitted to it, and it's come to it. But they're not all bad, also. We've come to learn that some are better than others, not all the same. And but this channel is about things, and this is really what it's about. It's about cars that are pre-massive touchscreens, pre-hybrid efficiencies broadly, and back when things were analog and still had hydraulic steering, most likely.
Back when humans were allowed to do things in cars.
Well, back when the humans were the drivers.
Yeah.
Completely.
And so right now we have, if you care about right now, currently, old 1997 Toyota beat-up Land Cruisers or old beat-up 2007 Land Rover LR3s that shouldn't drive at all, that drive wonderfully.
They both somehow get it done every time.
Somehow they both still work with the mileage and maintenance issues they've been neglected on. And
absolutely.
We've had some adventures in them. We'll probably sneak some other things in there along the way, any other project things that pop up.
And lots of maintenance, too.
Lots of maintenance, yeah.
And a little bit of roadkill on those adventures.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, but enough of that out of the way, Brian. The two things we've been busy with this week. Number one, the reason we're in this hotel is because, we're at a Mazda CX-90 launch event.
Yep, drive event.
And that's been very, very entertaining. We got to meet a lot of neat Mazda personnel.
A lot of good characters there.
Yeah, look,
genuine car people.
Yeah, we'll get into more of that event in a minute. Because the next thing I want to start with is, because earlier in the week, we got to drive a bunch of cars, and we'll get into the specifics of that in a minute. But the Texas Auto Riders Association Roundup.
Yeah, the Auto Roundup.
Annual Roundup, this is the event where they get all the cars and crossovers together. We get to track some of them. You're heavily involved. You actually helped put all that on. You're a board member.
I planned that event, yeah.
And then the other event they have is Truck Rodeo, but this one's, and that's more truck focused. This, though, is more car and crossover focused. How many cars, you helped plan that event, you helped set up the track. What track did we get to go to? How many cars did we have?
Okay, so the track of choice this year was called Eagles Canyon Raceway. It's about an hour and a half. That's about an hour north of Fort Worth, but it's an hour and a half from my house. And it's between Decatur and Denton, Texas. If you know where that's at, if you're around here, you'll understand that. And it's got to be the prettiest track anywhere near DFW. Tons of elevation. The same person that paved and painted the curbs here and made the curbs is the same person that did COTA in Austin. It's immaculate. They will not let a drifter anywhere near the property because they don't want the track messed up. In fact, we couldn't do burnouts on course. The grid was a little bit of leeway, but there is a skid pad coming next year just for that. So don't worry, that will come out. But we had 25 vehicles to choose from. And this year the news really was we had so many EVs, we created a category just for that. Not that we care about that so much, but it was neat to see the diversity that is there now. Because some are like really good and some are like, get away from me.
Oh.
And everything in between.
Because 2 years ago it was like, oh, there's one EV. Oh, man.
What do we do with
What
that?
does this even mean?
Right.
How many more are coming? When will it be? And we were told, I think, 2 years ago that in 5 years it'll all be EVs.
We were told, yes, by experts.
Which is not true.
Which has not been the case so far.
No.
But it has jumped from 2%, I think, to 6%. And it's going to keep going up. But we're still not going to be able to charge all of them. So I'm not blaming brands. It's just a challenge that the driving community is going to have to figure out in our infrastructure. It's just not ready for that. But I digress. The important part, Craig, we had a slew of crossovers.
Mm-hmm.
I drew the line in SUVs. No Broncos, no Jeeps, nothing full frame.
Right.
So this was cars and crossovers because sedans are just now crossovers. Let's be honest. That was fun. We could do a road tour around the property, and we could, on highway and do all that. And you and I filmed 9 videos doing this. We drove more, but we actually spent production time. And we also helped our film crew that we hired for the event with a lot of lead and follow shots. That took a lot of time, too. That came out great. So when you watch our videos, you'll see that B-roll is professionally made. It's going to be cool. Then we had on track, we had 7 cars on track. One of them broke. But so we really had 6 cars.
Dodge.
Doesn't matter. Anyways, the Challenger...
No, it matters. It sucked.
Yeah, well, the Challenger was great.
That part, that Dodge was great.
The Titanic is just as jolly as it's always been. And it will be the last. In fact, this is the last chance.
Yes, there's one more last.
There's one more after that. This
is the 6 of 7.
Yeah, we'll never see the 7 of 7.
No.
It'll be in a Meekum auction at some point.
And there's only 300 of these. This is the Black Ghost edition. So go ahead and get into that car a little bit, and then we'll talk about some of our favorites.
We did film this one. So last year we didn't film the Demon because we had filmed it the year before in Charger form, not Challenger form. And we didn't have time, honestly. Last year we were trying to get so much done. It was like, look, we had to pick and choose what's going to get the views, and that wasn't it. Well, this year with all the hype, and also we want to experience it one last time. And we did.
Yep.
It was awesome. And it's one of those cars that you go, man, the ingredients kind of all suck, minus the motor and the transmission. Everything else is like old crap.
Yeah.
It is just...
very 70s muscle car.
Which
is why it's the last call edition.
Well, for sure. But then you also look up, what was the mission for this car? To be a modern muscle car.
The objective achieved.
And by modern, I mean like late 2000s modern. Like, it's done that and been updated well. And with the wide body, it handles way better than it should.
Yes.
Now, it still can't balance the power on track wide open. It's never going to do that. But on the road, if you're doing more than like 50, you can lay into it and it won't light up. And it just rips and rips and makes all the fun sounds. And like, hats off to Stellantis and FCA or whoever they call today. They nailed that, man. It's so cool. I'm going to miss it.
Yeah.
Hats off to them.
Absolutely. They did a great job with a really old E-Class chassis. Good job, Stellantis, for having something really old that long.
And thank you, Mercedes, for making a great E-Chassis 20 years ago. Or
Yeah.
E-Class chassis.
Yeah. And one of the things I do love, in all seriousness, that Dodge does do at this event, they've had a Challenger at this event for a long time now.
Actually, that's a good point. 15 years running. They've been at the Auto Roundup for 15 years running.
Got to give them. That shows you how long this vehicle's been in production.
Crazy.
And it's on the same chassis since then.
That hasn't changed at all.
Has not changed.
Yeah.
But they also do something else. They always send it with a particular driver. I want you to talk about him a little bit because he needs more credit. He doesn't get enough credit. Really humble dude. The best name in the world for this because you wouldn't expect it. Tell us about him.
The man, the myth, the legend, Moses Smith.
Yes.
So of Moses Smith Racing. He's based out of Motorsport Ranch in Crescent, Texas. He's actually building Formula 2 Mazda cars, like baby Indy cars with 13B rotaries, all on his own. Mass production, super cool. Cool dude. Very diverse background. He doesn't want to admit it, but he's from California. Lives in Texas now. In fact, we were talking on the paddock the other day, and he was telling me that back when he used to run NASCAR, I think it was in the late 90s, he would purposely put on a Carolina draw on his interviews. He'd be a little yanked, and he said it worked to his audience very well, which I thought was hysterical. But he's just a good dude, good at burnouts. I'd love to fight him on a burnout one day. I think it'd be super fun. We both pop tires. It'd be great. But he can make that car dance in ways that no one has business doing.
Well, and he's also really good at showing you and talking you through a track for someone that doesn't track often.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what he does. Dodge wants people that are intimidated of the track to get out there on it. Plus, they're also trying to protect their vehicle. So he will...
It's both. But he's good at both. He's patient.
You can ride with him, and he'll talk you through the track and show you all the lines and brake zones. And he's really good at that because sometimes it's hard to figure out some of these technical tracks.
Oh, yeah.
And
Eagles Canyon in particular is a hard track to learn.
Or he'll move over to the passenger seat and let you do it, and he's not afraid of you driving it. So, really, the perfect guy to have there, and he's just fun to talk to as well. So,
good-hearted guy, really nice. And it's funny too because every time we do Auto Roundup, this is our third or fourth one now with him. First thing I do before I go on track is I go with him and say, "Show me the line."
Yep. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah, that's what I did here too, because I don't know Eagles Canyon at all.
Right.
It's not his home track, but he's there several times a year. He already knows the track.
Yeah.
And so we rolled in there, and he gave me every clipping point. And by the end of the day, I was like, yeah, I can run this now.
Yeah.
Not great. And I'm getting faster every time, but I at least wasn't blind going through.
Right.
And like you said, he's patient with a lot of different people. You can be a person that's like, oh, I want my picture in a Hellcat. It actually scares me. Or the guy that's like, I think I've got this, but you clearly don't. And he'll be that safety net and never tell you how bad you are.
Right.
That's huge praise.
Yeah.
So he's good at that.
Yeah. No, really good stuff. That's fun. All right, Brian. So we also got the track. Talk to the cars we actually had on track, and then we'll talk about our favorite track cars. Then we'll talk about our favorite overall. See if they're the same or not.
Okay. Track one. Okay, let's go through this. So we had, obviously, the Challenger. We were supposed to have the Hornet RT out there. It broke on its scouting lap the day before. Yeah. And then it didn't get fixed at all. And I'll just get into it. They took it to a dealer, a local dealer. It was kind of rural. And they said, Dodge sells this?
Yeah.
They had no idea what it was. They'd never seen it. It's actually a Fiat. And the hybrid power system in it has never been in anything else.
Right.
And the 1.3 turbo has been in a Dodge Dart a long time ago. But the motor wasn't really the problem. It was the entire hybrid system was acting up.
Right.
I actually drove it later on for some lead follow footage. And if you never got the throttle, it was fine. But...
I drove the GT, the non-track car they had.
The 2-liter turbo.
The 2-liter turbo, and I didn't have any problems with it. You know,
it was just that one.
It's a crossover.
It was just disappointing. Actually, we'll give kudos to Dodge. They wanted to track that thing. I think it's too top-heavy for track use, honestly. And
also give kudos to Stellantis. They did have another track car.
They did. They didn't. Yeah, they weren't done with track for the day.
So since the Hornet GT or RT wasn't working,
right?
What else did they give us?
Well, the Challenger.
No.
Oh, that's right. They pulled the Alfa Stelvio,
which originally wasn't going to be on there.
It was a road-only car, and they said, "Well, screw that. Let's get that grid filled back up." So I lied. We did have 7 cars.
Yeah.
So and that was super cool.
And then the Alfa dude was like, "Drive it."
He came back and he was like, "Brakes are stinking. Good job." He was super pumped about it. Good attitude. Now a bit of that Alfa swagger. Nothing can be better than an Alfa.
Right.
And which is just not right. But
sure. But it sounded good.
It sounded great. It looked the part. That car was actually from the Miami F1 tour that it did.
That's right.
Which is why the brakes were making some noises, but they were working fine. It was just they didn't change pads before, so they're a little tired. But it was cool seeing that out there. That was neat. So they brought that. Let's move on down the grid. We had Honda showed up.
Yep.
They brought out 4 vehicles this year. 3 road cars. The all-new Accord.
No. Let's just talk about track cars right now.
Oh, track only. Okay. They brought 1 car for them. The Civic Type R. The all-new, like the new one, like a couple months old. That was actually debuted in Austin at COTA. Only like 2 journalists were invited to that. They're Canadian. They wasn't even us. But anyways, moral of the story, we drove that. I want you to tell me what you think of that.
I want to give credit first. I want to give props to Honda because Dodge had someone out there protecting their Dodge. They had Alfa guy out there protecting their Alfa. We'll get to the Toyotas in a minute. There was Toyota people babysitting their cars all day long. But the Honda Civic Type R, the Honda guy's like, go drive it.
Yeah.
No, they were not worried about it at all.
No apologies. And this also gives me confidence in their, I'm air quoting if you can't see because you're on a podcast, the cooling issue of the previous gen.
Yes.
He was not worried at all. He's like, go, dude, have fun.
It's a little controversial. We'll get into it, but
we'll come back to that at the end.
I'll come back to that when we get to our favorite track cars and stuff. But I enjoyed it a lot. I was super impressed for a front-wheel drive vehicle how well it did at the closer to the close to the limit. It was fun at the limit.
Brakes were good too,
and the brakes were good. Had no issues with the cooling. They solved that problem for sure. Shifter was good. Driving position was good. Good packaging. We did review this one. We'll have a video for that.
Wait for a video. It's about a week out. We talked all about cooling, so we'll get into detail.
I'll say this. All the Honda and Civic Type R fanboys that are out there, and there's a lot of them, they're going to love this car.
Oh.
This is going to be one of their legends.
And they should never apologize for loving it.
And they don't need to.
It's a great option.
Yeah.
And if you're a Honda guy, nothing's going to beat it. There's nothing that can hold a candle to it, period. And honestly, I think they've toned it down enough that I could drive it to work and not be embarrassed. The old one was so insane. I'm like, it's driving an anime cartoon.
You still have a massive wing, so there is that.
Wang gang.
But yeah. Okay, so let's continue on down the grid. What else do we have?
We had not one, Craig. Mm-hmm. We had 2 GR Corollas.
The GR Corolla.
The GR Corolla. The one that no one can get.
Even the Morizo edition.
We had the Morizo 2, which is one of 200 ever to be built. In fact, Craig and I were walking the grid, and I said, take a picture, you'll never see that again.
That's it.
We will never touch that car or drive it again. So it's funny, a little background on this. Our Toyota guy, we talked several times prior to this event. We're organizing everything. And he said, look, we'll be very clear. we're going to have 2 Corollas. I am terrified of someone breaking the clutch in it. Because it's all-wheel drive, they launch hard, it's a lot of stress on the clutch. If it was 2-wheel drive, it'd be like, the tires get kind of like...
It's not that it's a weak clutch, it's that you got a bunch of journalists that
don't know how to drive manuals.
Claim to know how to drive manuals, and they don't know how to drive manuals.
And a little background, we've had this happen last year. Someone ate a clutch in a different car.
Right.
Not being hard on it, just burning the clutch, basically. Just not driving it right. So, which is really unfortunate, but it happens. And he goes, look, it's not that I'm worried about like someone learning on the car. My issue is that I can't replace that clutch. Because the car's so early, there is no clutch kit stateside for it. And the odds are by the time he gets it, the car will be a year old, it'll be out of fleet at that point. And so he'll spend all this money on this car that will never drive it. No one's going to drive it again. So his plan was we had a Core Edition GR Corolla, which is the base one, but it had the performance pack. $1,100 for the Torsen limited slip divs, the better brakes, blah, blah, blah. If you pass that test, he would then let you go to the Marizo Edition. And he wanted you to drive the Marizo Edition. But if you were not a competent manual driver, he didn't want you coming near his cars. Understandably.
Right.
So, those were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll argue at the end about which one was better, but I was pleased with them. Mm-hmm. They make great turbo sounds. The 3-cylinder has no business making that much punch. I'm nervous for the aftermarket, though, because the Subaru vape boys of the past love Cobb tuning everything. And they had a platform that had a little left on the table. Now, not enough ringland to make it last, but they would at least get a few weeks of more boost. There's not much left on the table for this. They have really found the edge of warranty for that motor.
The edge of warranty is a good way to put it.
It's just like, seriously, you can't throw 50 on that. Not without doing a lot.
Yeah.
It's asking a lot. And it was hanging around 20 PSI on the gauge. I mean, that's a lot, for a factory car on pump gas. So, going down the line. Next, we had the GR Supra. I think that was the last car on there, wasn't it?
I think that should be it.
We've reviewed the Supra already. It's already on our channel. We freaking love that car. It was actually the same car we had on loan. They pulled from the fleet and brought it in. And I didn't track that car, but I did lead follow camera work. You tracked it. Mm-hmm. Almost made me car sick, which hasn't happened in a long time. It wasn't your driving. It was that with the helmets we had were super tall, and then I was looking at the floorboard most of the time.
Well, in that passenger seat, I don't think you can get as low as the driver's seat.
You can't.
Yeah.
No. Because I've driven the car with a helmet, and it's been fine.
It's already hard enough to drive in the driver's seat.
Exactly. So I did lead follow at low speed. I just didn't wear a helmet. It was just easier. But anyways, so glad they brought that out. And that car he wasn't as worried about because that clutch kit can be had. He still wants someone to know what they're doing when they come out there. But that was cool. Those are the cars. So those are the cars on grid. What was your takeaway? What was the one?
Well, there was a bonus car.
Which was that?
There was a personal car.
Oh, that's right. We brought our company car, which is the Hyundai Veloster N, which for some reason Craig doesn't like to drive very much, but it's our company car, mainly because he misses his Gary so much. And we have all these press cars, never drives his own car. Anyways, that was a hoot and a riot. And I'll just get into it. I drove the Honda Civic Type R first, and everyone told me, best car ever, best car ever, best car ever. Cool. I'm excited about it. I set my bar a little too high, and the tires were a little too cold. And I was having trouble either putting the power down or not oversteering because the tires were too cold. Now, the oversteer was fun. I like that. It was playful in that regard, but it never told you when it was happening. It was never in a good way. It was in a, well, crap, I'm trying to hook up what's going on. Now, fast forward, I drove it the next day, solved that. It became neutral. It became pretty balanced. And for a front-wheel drive car, it was great. Mm-hmm. The limited slip was like really getting its work done. The fake engine noise was a good sound. 4 fake engine noise. On the outside, it sounded like a vacuum cleaner. Like, it missed the exhaust, and so I drive the Veloster so much, I got out of the Honda and said, well, where's the pops and crackles? This sounds kind of boring. And I didn't change my mind on that by the time we were done. But I did take the Hyundai out there. Ours is a non-performance pack car, so it's the 250 horse, 260 torque, non-limited slip, and it was a blast. I'm not exaggerating, I had the, well, maybe not. I had tied for the most fun that weekend on track in that car because of the personality part of it. It does fun better than any of them, flat out.
Absolutely.
So even if it's not the fastest, but it did fun. So
absolutely. So okay, so those were all the cars.
Yep.
Those are what we got to drive. We won't get into all the drives of all of them because otherwise this will be a 5-hour podcast.
Right.
So, but Brian, I want to go ahead and tell you my favorite out of the track cars.
Okay.
And then you tell me yours, and then we'll get on to some of the on-road cars, the non-track cars that we got to drive, and what we thought. So some of our hits there. my favorite
Drum roll.
was the very simple and not surprising, the Toyota Supra.
Yep, knew it.
Manual.
Yeah.
We've had this car previously. We have a video on it. It's a manual. We got to drive. It's funny because the more each time we get another Supra, and the more I drive another Supra, I'm like, the more I realize how incredible it is.
Oh yeah.
A lot of it's the B58 engine. You call it the Velveteen Hammer.
Yeah, Velveteen Nuke. Thing's incredible.
But I think it's because the manual part, you get to engage more with it. The ZF 8-speed is unbelievable in that car, but because it's so good,
you're along.
It's almost too good.
Yeah,
you're just along for the ride. You're like, okay, does it need me?
Not necessarily.
And it still doesn't need you even with
the
manual.
You to keep it straight.
Because
that's it.
It doesn't even need you the manual because it's got the good rev matching and all that.
Right.
It is just a joy and a blast to drive. Every time I drive, I'm just like, I can't believe I can do this in a car.
Right.
Look, this is not the same car, but I've had the chance of tracking a 911 GT3.
Oh yeah.
And
oh wow, you're making it a parallel with that?
I'm going there. I know the 911 GT3 is comparatively better. I totally understand it. But it's one of those cars in the same vein that you just can't believe it can do that and be pushed that far.
Right.
It can. And every time I try to push it, I'm like, I can't believe it can do that. And it just rewards you and makes you feel like a superhero when you drive it. And it makes the right noises. It's quick. Even when you miss shifter or you got it in the wrong gear in a corner, it's okay. You can power out of it because the power is available
It can
everywhere.
lug really well. Yeah.
And it grips amazingly. And we talked to Brad, the guy that runs the track out there. We're starting to see more and more Supras kind of take the spots of the Caymans.
Yes.
Because you go to tracks now and it's like Cayman. It's kind of boring. It's like a 4Runner on an off-road course.
Pretty much.
Boring.
Yeah.
And the Supra's showing up. And it's kind of starting to take some of its thunder.
He has a school car of both of those.
Yeah.
He takes the Supra every time.
And so that just kind of speaks to how good the Supra platform is.
High praise.
And high praise to Toyota. Toyota did not just slap a Toyota badge on it. We know we've been through this before.
Right.
But you can tell Toyota paid attention to that because, I'll be honest, BMW makes great engines, but now everything else they make around the engine these days is almost Toyota Camry-like, old Toyota Camry-like.
Well,
boring.
And ugly.
Boring and ugly.
Yeah.
It's the dynamics. They've lost some of the dynamics and the charm they used to have there. Toyota's brought that back with the Supra.
Toyota is doing God's work in the automotive world right now.
Absolutely.
No question about it.
So that's my track winner.
Okay.
What's your track winner?
My track winner was the other Toyota.
Okay.
Which one, might you ask? Ask?
Oh, Brian, do tell. Which one?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. The Mariza was not it. It was the Core. Yeah. And the reason why is because, you were actually with me on this lap. In the Core.
Yeah, we'll give a good video of it.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, too. I want to praise our Toyota person because he flat out saw us walk out and he's like, because they were chaperoning everyone on track. And he saw us coming, he's like, y'all are good to go. He just doesn't worry about people that he's vetted before and he has at previous events. So we had more freedom than some. Because we didn't have a warm-up, we just went. And also running the event helps too because you know the track better and that kind of stuff. So this is an all-wheel drive car, 3-cylinder, 300 horsepower, 270, 3 torque, something like that. First time I've driven it. I haven't been on road with it at all. Now,
first time a lot of people have driven it.
True. Seating position's a little off when I have a helmet on, but it just didn't freaking matter. We went out, we warmed up for about half a lap, and then I saw the red mist. And then I blacked out. And then I came back, and you told me we were squealing tires the whole time. And all joking aside, what really happened was I found the limit. I found 10 tenths. And it was very friendly, like, hey, guys, here's 10 tenths. The Michelin started talking a little bit.
Here's 10 tenths. Why don't you stay here for a minute? It's fun.
And it just says, take a nap. This is great. Hang out. Have some fun. And you've got some breathing room. You've got a little overrun. And if you overcook it, I will pull you out. And basically, now you can't drive it like a front-wheel drive car, but you can point and shoot this thing through the slalom, and it will pull itself through, no question.
In 50-50 track mode.
Yes, so we tried 30-70 at first. I was like, I'm going to get the rear to kit. 30 front, 70 rear, which I'm like, great. The drifter in me is like, a little bit of rotation on throttle might be great. Not the case.
Yeah, and I drove it in 60-40 the first time I took it out there. I was like, great, it's a front-wheel drive car. And then the guy says, no, put it in track mode 50-50. And you're like, oh, it's neutral. Nice.
So I didn't drive a 60-40. I'm glad you told me that. Because that makes a big difference. On 50-50, it felt completely neutral. Not oversteer, not understeer. So you could hang out at it. And you had a little breathing room to make corrections and stay on 10 tenths. I've never driven a car that would want to go to it and stand on the line that long, just continuously. Never overheated, no problem. We got back and we got some comments about, I can smell some brakes.
Mm-hmm.
I got news for you. We weren't that hard on the brakes because
No.
we were momentuming. We were braking through cornering.
Yeah.
And that track's super cool because you're able to momentum and then use the friction of turning to slow the car.
Mm-hmm.
TMS last year we would cook super brakes left and right. This track doesn't cook brakes like that because you're turning so much.
Right.
Very technical. It's like 2.6 mile track. I mean, it's a long course. When you're out there, it's almost 10 miles once you get back of track time. Anyways, I like that a lot. I took the Marizo out after that. It's the super duper carbon roof, no back seat, no rear wiper.
Right. Less options cost more.
Right. Cup 2 tires, grippier. Now you have to warm the tires up on that one. So I did a full lap of warm up on that. And its edge was kind of like the Type R. You would get it there and you would step right past it real fast.
Uh-oh.
And you're not going to like loop the car, but like you found the edge of the limit and you go, I got to bring it back. I can't play here.
Yeah.
Whereas the Pilot Sport 4S's, you could play there all day long. It was happy for it. And so that edge wasn't so sharp and it was really entertaining.
So, okay.
Liked it a lot. Liked it a whole lot.
I want to make sure I've got something on the record.
Oh, crap. Here we go.
So you mean to tell me we went to a track event that had a Challenger Hellcat Last Call Edition.
Yep.
And we had a Civic Type R.
Yep.
And you mean to tell me the boring company of old Toyota that you used to just
Camper
rail
company?
against because, fall asleep, navigate, This is that's former Brian voice right there is what that is.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. 2 Toyotas, one this?
One Toyota one. Oh, you picked one. I picked the other.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah. Well,
I just make sure I understand where we're at.
To be fair, a Toyota and a BMW one.
That's a little unfair. Okay, moving along. That was the track portion, but we also had a lot of cars that we rightfully and smartly the manufacturer did not let us take on track.
I asked for all of them.
As much as we would have driven all of them on track.
It's funny because I want to talk to a brand and go, "Hey, do you want that Pilot on track?
Yeah,
that Honda Pilot." And they'll go, "You nuts? That's hot." It's funny. I'm like, I'm not joking.
Yeah, in fact, I think most of them introduced their cars at the beginning, like Volkswagen's like, we have the Atlas, we have the Atlas Cross Sport. Don't ask me if you can track it. So the first thing we asked him was if we could track it.
Of course.
And he's like, no, we're serious.
Yeah,
but no, we still
it
couldn't.
didn't go very well.
Didn't work. Okay, but we reviewed several cars. We drove several cars. We were driven in a car. And
you were driven in a car.
I was driven in a car. You dang right I was.
We didn't film that one, but
yeah. So we have to drive a lot of cool stuff. I'm just here's some quick hits.
Spit it out.
We had the Genesis G90. We had the new Toyota Prius. We had the new Honda Pilot Trail Sport.
The Crown.
We had the Toyota Crown, which is I'm confused by. And then and many others.
The RXs, the Volkswagens, the Honda, the new Pilot Trail Sport. I mean, we had a lot of new stuff.
A lot of new stuff. Lots of cool things happening. Lots of EV stuff.
Yep.
The Nissan Mirai, the Toyota BZ4X.
Mirai, the Aria.
Aria.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mirai. Well, whatever. Oh, yeah, I'm thinking of Toyota.
Toyota Mirai. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's been a long day.
Yeah, it's been a long day. But, Ron, we can only pick one.
Yep.
What was your favorite out of all the non-track cars?
Can we define favorite, like as in I want to buy with my own money?
Nope. No definitions.
Oh.
You just got to pick the winner. Which one was the best one?
I want you to go first.
Oh, it's simple. It is the car I was driven in. We didn't even film it.
Okay.
It was the Genesis G90. So let me talk you through kind of what happened here. So it's late in the day 2. We're exhausted. We're so tired. Getting up early, helping set up. We had to do a lot of off camera things.
Actual day job stuff.
Day job stuff. Actually, I had to help on some things, which is fine. It's just part of the event.
That's how we make these work.
That's how we make these work. You wanted to go track a bunch of cars.
Well, look, we had 2 hours left. I'm like, we've got track. I'm going to use it.
Yeah, 2 hours left. You're going to track. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You got 2 hours left. There's a bunch of cars over here I haven't driven. I'm going to go drive some of them. Just so we can compare them later. When we drive other cars, we like to have just kind of in our brains, how does that car drive? What's it up against?
Because internal comparative things. Yeah.
So, okay. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to go drive some cars. You go track some cars. We'll talk. We'll catch back up. So I drove the Dodge Hornet. I drove some other cars, and then also drove the Genesis G90. So getting the Genesis G90.
Which, for reference, this is a big sedan.
This is basically their Mercedes S-Class competitor.
Yes. Or 7 Series Beamer.
They're going straight after the Mercedes S-Class.
Yeah, they're not even hiding it.
They're not even trying to hide it.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like one.
Totally.
So you get in it, and there's so much technology in it, just like any modern S-Class.
Well, that's what S-Class is. It's the beacon of technology for the automotive industry.
It's like, let's show off what we can do as a car brand.
Right.
We know how to do this.
Crazy flexes. Yeah.
So, first thing is I pulled over, and I just tried to mess with all the infotainment and crap and buttons and features, and like, what the heck is all happening in this car?
Right. Which is still strangely based on the Kia Telluride. Like, it's not totally foreign. I mean that in a good way. Like, it's a good system that we're not totally unfamiliar with, but there's so much else on it.
Yeah.
It was kind of daunting.
Yeah. So, number one, it's got automatic opening and closing
doors. Yeah.
Regular doors. Like, they just open like normal, but you hit the button and it opens.
Not soft close, like actuated open.
It actually powered opens. Then you sit in the car and you hit the close door button and it
closes the door.
The motor closes the door.
By the way, I never knew I needed that until that moment.
You're right.
It's awesome.
Right. So that was cool. And then, of course, the materials in there were just sublime. It was unbelievable how posh and cush they were.
It was like Napa's Napa. It was just really good materials.
And so then they have these different, of course, I've always loved Hyundai, Kias. What do we call it? The Sounds of Nature?
Sounds of Nature, yeah.
Sounds of Nature.
Yeah.
And so we always put it in rainforest mode, and it's quiet, birds chirping, it puts you to sleep. It's great. I was tired anyway, so I needed this comfortable car.
Yeah, you wanted a nap. You weren't trying to drive a car.
Of course, you had massaging seats, and you had ball chillers and all that fun stuff.
By the way, those massaging seats actually work.
They do.
They're actually good.
One of the things I saw is that there's mood settings. So you can do calm, you can do vibrant, you can do some other moods. So you put on calm mood, because I was tired at this time, so I wanted calm.
Right.
And what happens is the rear shade pops up.
Oh, yeah.
The side shades on the rear windows pop up.
The peasant blockers are automated with power.
Yes.
Yeah.
The massaging seat comes on, and it works, like you said. And then I also missed basically essential oils. It missed scents.
Yeah.
Which Mercedes does this too.
Mercedes did that first a few years ago.
Yeah. So they're trying to do all that stuff. And then it plays whatever mood of music
audio,
you're looking for. And it's just
tranquil.
Wonderful.
Tranquil.
So.
Yeah, so much that I was like, Craig, you need to go tracking. And the track is here. You're like, no, you need to drive this. I'm like, okay.
I wanted to track that. So I've come find you, and you're like, come on, let's go track this. Like, no. You need to go drive this. You've got to go drive this.
And so, come to find out, you just wanted me to drive you in it.
That's because here's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to sit in the back of the car, because in the back of the car is where the action's really at. I can control all those things I was talking about from the back.
Right.
So I get in the back. First off, you hit the button, the passenger seat goes all the way forward.
Yep.
My recliner, basically my seat reclines, the footrest comes out.
It's like a lazy boy, yeah.
The headrest is a literal pillow, like sewn to the headrest.
It's a leather pillow, yeah.
No, it's like a cloth, like it's not leather. It's actually soft touch. And so I've got that going on. I tell you to put it in calm mode. All those things happen, which is even better back there because that's where all those shades come up. And it was wonderful. We got a great picture of it.
Oh, yeah. Little do you know, you were in calm mode and I was blitzing down the highway.
And what I really wanted was
I
wanted you to drive me home because I was tired at that point. But I also wanted you to drive me on the track with me in the back. That would have been really awesome.
Well, look, we ripped it on the highway, and you had no idea we were doing excessive speed.
Didn't matter. It was
just
so
didn't
calm.
matter. It was so relaxing.
It was so quiet. So
I wonder if that had air ride on it. I don't know if it did or not.
Don't know. I'm sure we'll get it at some point.
Yeah, it's on our list. It's on our list.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's my winner of the non-track cars. What's your winner of non-track cars?
I was actually going to say that. So I agree as my winner of non-track cars because it's the most impressive thing out there. I actually regret not filming it, but we had limited time, and we are getting that on loan later. So
it was probably one of 2 6-figure vehicles there.
Yeah, the Hellcat was right at 100,000.
Right.
It was, and this was just over. It was like 108 or something like that.
Right.
So, but I think worth it.
I think so too.
Because the S class that's similarly equipped is like 160.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a huge value.
Absolutely.
Now, I've got another category for you.
Okay.
What car would you consider buying for you or your family? You have to, Craig. We went to the event.
Of the actual cars that were there.
All of them, though. You got to buy one of
but
these
cars. There's a particular model car I'm thinking of, but
nope, just what's there, what's on the lot.
Okay, okay.
Of the 25 cars,
I was going to say the Crosstrek if I could get the manual, but they didn't have the manual there.
Nope.
Okay.
It had to be what was pretend it was a car dealer. We drove all these things. You have to now buy one and take it home.
Is it my daily?
You just got to buy it and take it home.
I got to buy it and take it home.
Don't make it too complicated.
For someone else?
You got to buy it and take it home
Okay.
and add it to your garage at home.
Okay.
Do what you want with everything else.
Okay, and that was so we drove the Crown. That was interesting. I like that.
You didn't like that.
Well, no, I like the Hybrid Max powertrain. That was cool.
Oh yeah.
I like the Hybrid Max powertrain.
That was programmed well.
That's pretty cool.
As far as split powertrains go, they did a good job with that.
Yeah. I'm probably going to lean towards, at least the one I'm thinking of that sticks in my brain a little bit more, is the new Toyota Prius.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I say that because it is, and we talked about this, we filmed this one too.
Yeah, we got an episode on that coming.
That is.
It looks good, by the way.
That's where I'm going. It looks good. So many people kept saying, man, this looks good for a Prius. This looks good for a Prius. We had to correct them and say, and ourselves.
Yes, ourselves too.
No, it doesn't look just good for a Prius.
This looks good.
This just looks good for any car, vehicle, sedan, whatever. It looks good.
It's kind of got this Aston Martin vibe going on.
It's got this sleek, fast, kind of sporty
Oh,
look.
It's like a Japanese Aston.
And we talked about this in our video, but basically it's like someone at Prius, whoever designed the previous Prius was like, we're selling so many of these, they'll buy them no matter what. We'll make it as ugly as we can and watch they'll still buy them.
And they did.
And they did. But then somebody at Toyota's like slapped that person and said, okay, that was dumb. Now you need to make it the best you can look.
Yeah.
And they did.
Actually do your homework on this and do
And
it.
they did.
They did a great job.
It's got good sight lines, good mileage, like all the other ones. It's practical, it's functional.
Mom needs that car.
It makes a ton of sense. Yeah, that's probably going to go with.
Wow, you go with the hybrid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lame. Okay, here's the real answer. I've got two, actually.
Okay.
It would be the GR
So
Corolla.
you can't even do this,
No,
right?
no, I can't.
Okay, give it
GR,
two.
no, but I can tell you why there's two. The GR Corolla Core,
Okay.
I would buy that because I just really enjoy my time with it. And it's a good bargain if you can buy one. But you can't. And the dealer market would be crazy, so I'd buy the Atlas 2.0.
Oh, the Atlas. I forgot about the Atlas.
The Volkswagen Atlas, because it's the same price, actually cheaper than that Corolla was, that particular one.
The Atlas was wonderful.
And it had a ton of room. The infotainment just worked. It wasn't overly complicated. It was super quiet on the highway, whereas the Pilot was noisy and like a lot of cars that road's really coarse highway.
Yeah.
It was quiet and it was super comfy. And the 2-liter turbo was not like my favorite motor in that application, but it certainly got the job done.
Yeah.
No question about it. And it was quicker than we thought it was to 60. And it's overall like cheap German era.
Oh, just the packaging.
The packaging was good.
It was like a German Honda.
Kind of, yeah. But quieter. But like way, way, way quieter than the Pilot was. So I like that a lot. And it was honestly so underappreciated. And it was $40,000 when everything else in the segment with those features is 50 or more.
It was a bargain.
A huge bargain.
I completely agree with you. I almost forgot about that one.
And underappreciated, by the way.
Yeah, so much underappreciated. I forgot about it.
I actually can't believe Volkswagen brought that. Of all the things they have right now, that car's getting replaced next year. It must have just been.
You'd think we would have gotten a Taos or something, but we're still having.
Taos or.
But press fleets are
Golf
still
or
having trouble
something.
getting cars. So that's a factor.
Right. It's just what they had.
Um,
And as it turns out, it's a good product people keep forgetting about. That's what I'm getting at.
Yes, and I want to get back to your GR Corolla Core because in ways I like the Civic Type R better. I'm just going to say.
Which is fair.
I think the packaging is great. It's a little more mature. It just looks better. I enjoyed my time on the track with it ever so slightly more than the GR Corolla. You had the opposite experience.
It's fair. But it's only because I stood on the limit the whole time. I really got joy out of that.
I would buy the GR Corolla over the Civic Type R for myself.
Why?
Because one factor,
What's that?
road noise.
Oh, that's real, actually.
The road noise in the Civic Type R was so bad.
Yeah.
And I know we were driving on course roads. I get it.
And it's a
It was
tire.
so bad. It was at a certain pitch that just it hurt my ears.
It does. And
I know that
cars
sounds
do that, but
lame, but that's where we're at. And the GR Corolla did not have that issue, and everything else was just a Corolla, which works fine, and it was functional.
look, I want to give
and
you
practical.
some points on your look. The Civic looks better.
Yeah.
And the interior is like better proportion. It's more room, but not like so big it's not fun to drive.
Right.
And it's a better design, I think. The Corolla is a shit box they forgot to take the shit out of. It's still there.
Right.
But it drives so well, it's totally fine. And but it's also not pretty. But
it wasn't that loud.
But it's wide body, and you kind of go, I'll get over the looks. It's not like it's ugly.
Right.
It's just not like as pretty as the Honda.
Right.
And then
It's got a lot going on.
you got a lot going on. It doesn't have a center armrest either.
It didn't even have an armrest. Yeah.
Oh, what the hell? Oh, this is definitely your car.
But I'm used to that. Yeah, I'm used to that. I got two cars like that.
Another reason why you should buy it. Your dirt roads you drive on, this rides a little bit higher than the Honda and has all-wheel drive. Let's go, dude. Car's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Leave it to Toyota to save the WRX people.
I would love to see that in 30/70 mode on a dirt road with the right tires. That would be
100%.
a lot of fun.
100%. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, Brian, that was at Texas Auto Riders Roundup. Not much more to say there other than great event.
Yeah, well,
Great job putting that on, and everybody else on the TAWA board. I know everybody works hard at that. I know the manufacturers work hard at that. What's cool about it is you get a ton of content creators and journalists together, and they get to drive so many cars in one spot, and you get to drive them back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
So
it's like speed dating. But the manufacturers are so good at supporting the event. You
Yeah.
can go, hey, I need to go film this. I need it for half an hour.
Yeah.
And they'll work it out and make it work for you.
Well, so many
awesome.
press events you go to, like the next one we're going to talk about, you drive one car and that's all they're talking about, and you don't get to compare it to its competitor.
It takes a whole day.
This, you get to drive all these competitive cars back to back to back, so you get seat time. The GR Corolla immediately jump to the Civic Type R on the track, drive them back to back, and you got to compare them.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. So it's fresh
And you
in
can
your
even
mind.
pull those cars and compare them if you want.
Right.
We had the option to pull the Type R and the Corolla, take them off track, and do a head-to-head comparison.
Yeah.
We didn't choose to do that format this year, but we could have if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian. So let's fast forward through the week a little bit.
It's been a day later after we got around.
It's been a day later.
Yeah.
Now we're flying out to San Francisco.
We're DFW again, yeah.
And we're going to the Mazda CX-90 drive event.
Yes, we went to the launch in Los Angeles about a month ago or 6 weeks ago, which was the unveiling, do a walk around, talk to the designers, yada, 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 hang out in Malibu, and then come back.
Right.
We decided to take a Tesla and get lost in some street racing nonsense and involved with CHP.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
No one died. It was a blast. Had an adventure.
Get the full experience.
LA experience. Yeah.
So now we're in Northern California.
Yep.
Mazda is trying to go premium.
They are going premium.
They are very, and more people need to.
People need to realize that. This is an up-class brand.
Yeah, it is. But this is a big deal for Mazda for several reasons. One, they had a divorce with Ford a few years ago.
Right.
Mutual. I think both parties are
Right.
moving on fine without each other, and support each other.
Right.
Hope you all do well.
Best of luck.
Yeah.
We'll share the kids.
Very amicable.
Right.
Yeah.
Co-parenting.
So this is a big deal for Mazda because this plan has been in the works for a long time. The platform and the
10
powertrain,
years. Like more than 10
a good
years.
decade.
Yeah.
And this is kind of finally come to fruition. Mazda's one of their babies that they started and they want to do on their own, and they want to obviously. They need to stay in business. So they want to grow sales. They want to expand their market and their pool and all that.
Which they're doing great, by the way. Their shift from Zoom Zoom to what's the new slogan?
Feel alive.
Feel alive. Right. I think it should just be nice is what it should say.
Yeah.
It's working. Their sales are well. The CX-5 they can't keep them in stock.
Yeah.
And they've done a good job. They know their market and it's worked.
Yeah. But this is a big deal. So, Brian, talk us through what this platform is and what the CX-90 is.
Okay. Well, we were very lucky to secure an interview with Dave on this, and Dave Coleman. Sorry, for those that don't know, he is kind of the brainchild behind everything we love in the Miata today. So I think it was the NB is where he came on board, and then now he's leading like the NC and the ND, and he's done just incredible work. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's a suspension nerd. I love geeking on that. Talking about brake dive and anti-squat and all those things. These were things that are considered in a 3-row crossover. It's just mind-blowing. Like, I don't think BMW cares about that anymore.
Right.
They did at one point, but I don't know if they do anymore. Mm-hmm. And I was just blown away. Literally blown away talking to him and learning on it. But here's the takeaway. This was not intended to be a crossover. And we didn't get hey, put it in black and white, but we got the wink. This is going to be the Mazda 6.
Right.
It was going to be the replacement for the front-wheel drive Mazda 6, which was a great car. The last one was incredible.
He basically told us, how can we make the Mazda 6 better? Oh, let's make it rear-wheel drive and have an inline 6, but then people just quit buying sedans.
Right. And we actually asked multiple Mazda people, hey, it's 23. Everyone's going skateboard EV, front-wheel drive, small displacement, turbo applications. Why an inline 6 now? And the answer was because we want one.
Right.
Because we wanted it that way.
Yeah.
Man, balls on the table, dude. That is major credit because
absolutely
everything else tells the company, hey, don't invest your money in that architecture. Do the small displacement, get a hybrid, do an EV, put your money in the battery factory. And Mazda's going, no. We care how it drives and the experience matters. So, long story short, while this is all happening, they decided that, while the Mazda 6 would be a great thing to put this in, Turns out no one's driving or buying Mazda 6 anymore or sedans at all. It wasn't Mazda's fault. The sedan is just dead. Yeah. For some reason, the Koreans are still making them, and I'm glad they do because I love it when we get them. But no one's buying those either.
No one's buying those either.
Right.
It's every brand.
It's all of them, and even the new Accord. Good swing Honda. No one's going to buy it like they are.
No one's going to buy it.
Right.
There's a reason Ford and no other domestic manufacturer makes them.
Right. The Accord will still be one of the leading cars with the Camry, but the segment in general is shrinking.
Yeah.
And so Mazda said, look, the segment died, but our platform is still brilliant. What do we do with this?
Right.
Make it an SUV.
Yep.
And so this thing's available in 4 flavors. It's already available overseas as 2. So you've got the CX-90 and CX-80. That designates the 60 is the 2-row or the short wheelbase version. The 80 is the 3-row. Ours is the 90, which is the 3-row, but 90 indicates a wider track width. It's a wider car because we have wider streets here. That vehicle is not available in Europe and Japan because it won't fit on the roads. Now, for those that are wondering, it's about the size of a Highlander. It's smaller than the Pilot, smaller than the Atlas, but still too big for Japan. They think this is a massive car. It's not a massive car. Like, we come from Texas, we have pickup trucks. It's like the right size mid-size car. It's a big mid-size. It's not a full size.
Yeah, it's a big mid-size, yeah.
Right. But like the Accord is probably similar in width. The new Accord, the big new Accord is. So there's that. We're also going to get a CX-70 in the future, which is the 2-row, but it's wide. So it's a big deal. But there's 2 power plants here. The inline 6 is the big news. The big surprise of the day, because we drove 2 cars today, Craig. We left downtown San Fran, and we drove into Sonoma, right by Sonoma Raceway, at a house that they had rented for the event. It's like an $11 million house. It's just very silly, but beautiful grounds. And we drove the hybrid, which is, tell them what that is. What's it powered by?
The PHEV. Yes, I think they're trying to get cute there. The PHEV.
Yeah, everyone calls it PHEV elsewhere, but Mazda calls it
Basically, they took their very good 2.5 liter naturally aspirated inline 4.
Not turbo.
Non-turbo.
Which I had that wrong going in. Someone corrected me.
Yep, and they made that to a hybrid powertrain.
Right.
That's sandwiched in between the motor and the transmission.
Yep.
Which is important because, Brian, what that effectively gives us is an EV car, because you can drive an EV mode for up to 28 miles. So for those 28 miles, you have an EV car that actually has an 8-speed transmission connected to it.
Hold on. Even more than that. Well, yeah, that's the huge news. I want to talk about the transmission in a minute. But even more than that, we drive hybrids all the time.
Yeah.
You hit EV mode, and as soon as you get over 28 miles an hour, it says EV mode not available, and then the gas engine comes on.
Yeah, number one, it stayed in EV mode.
Right. And then And then the CVT inevitably goes, and all this weird crap. This is a traditional 8-speed automatic, mostly traditional, and it stayed on EV mode at 75 miles an hour.
And you get normal shifts.
Right. And you feel gears through the electronic or the electric motor.
Right.
It's changing gear ratios.
Yeah.
So now this 100 some odd foot-pounds of torque motor is plenty because you have gears behind it.
Right.
Hello. Porsche got it right with the Taycan and 2-speed.
And the gas motor would kick on a little bit. Those first 28 miles, we were just testing it to see if it would come on.
Yeah, if you're aggressive as a driver, and also there's a kick-down plate in the pedal, you can force it to kick on too if you want, to like passing power.
What was really interesting is we were getting such good mileage those first 30 miles.
Right.
The mileage indicator, miles per gallon indicator in the dash said 80.0. And we kept looking over, you and I both kept looking at it and we're like 10 miles in, we're like, that thing's not changing.
Oh, that's not right.
Like, it's not working. It's pre-production. It must be messed up.
Right.
So we immediately reset it. It gets stuck at 80 again. We're like, what is happening?
But then the kilowatt usage went up.
Right.
But the mileage, MPG stayed at 80.
What we realized is we were getting such good mileage that 80 is just what it pegs out at. Mazda has decided that 80 was just going to be the highest it's going to read.
Right.
Yeah. Instead of 99.9, it's going to read 80.
Right.
So kind of wish we would have never even touched it, but then we did go into the sport mode, and we just really dogged it like we should.
Sure.
And
27 is what we landed on.
Yeah.
After like 50
that was
miles.
without hardly any EV assist. So I'm curious what it would have gotten had we not reset it.
Right.
Would we have gotten 40, 50? I don't know.
Probably. Well, we did the math on your drive, and you drive 50 miles to work one way, and you can plug it in.
Yep.
You plug it into a 110 outlet, not even just a regular wall plug.
Yep.
Full power. Again, another 30 miles of range, or 20. They quoted at 26. We got 28 miles of electric.
Yeah, everybody was
range.
getting 28 to 30.
Right. You get full range by the time you leave work, 6.5 hours of charge.
At highway speeds.
At highway speeds. We're not talking about around town idyllic scenarios. Just driving that thing normally on Texas highways. And it would be about 60 miles a gallon for you.
At least 60. Yeah.
That's
probably higher.
Impressive. And the problem with this is the MPG number won't reflect that in people's actual uses.
Yeah.
Now, if you road trip this 500 miles, it's going to get not too far off what the inline six would get if you're babying the inline six.
Yeah, and I don't know how they figure the MPGE. We'll have to dig into that on another review. Maybe when we get the technical.
When we get on loan, we'll do that, yeah.
Because the MPGE rating is what, 52? Is that what they told us? So much lower than I would have expected because there's other vehicles out there that we've driven that are higher than that don't seem as efficient. So
totally.
Very interesting to see it get that. I think the plug-in aspect. I think the EPA is still figuring things out too. In all honesty,
it's going to depend on how you use it too. If you drive 200 miles a day,
that's exactly. Then that's the problem.
Makes sense.
So it's all about the drive cycle and loop.
But no one drives that every day. Very few drive that daily.
Right. So it gets tricky. It's like EVs get measured a different way. Plug-in hybrids get a different. Plug-in hybrids are stuck in this weird world between a hybrid and an EV, and so
the EVs
I don't
have
know if
the
they're
kilowatt
measured.
hour.
Yeah, it gets so weird.
That rating doesn't. The annual fuel cost is like way different between Texas and California and that kind of stuff.
Most people are not going to drive 50 miles one way to work, and they're going to get even higher than 60 miles a gallon driving this thing.
All right, transmission.
Yes.
In-house design, 8-speed, and we found out why it's in-house design. It's because they want to control where the gears are located, where the weight is at, and how they can balance the platform.
Look, Mazda's got some control issues.
100%. Good and bad.
Good and bad.
The good news is they can get the weight where they want. The bad news is it's not a ZF 8-speed like it probably should be.
Right.
To be completely honest with you, my takeaway after driving both cars is the ZF 8-speed would be better at this.
Absolutely.
And it's just but it's a bigger transmission. It wouldn't have fit in the transmission tunnel. I get it. They have their reasons, and by and large, it worked. And it wasn't a bad transmission. It's just there's better options out there. What is tricky about this is it does not have a torque converter. It has a single disc wet clutch in its place, and we think that's part to do with the electric assist, because all of them have an electric assist. Even the inline six has a 48 volt powered, versus the PHEV has a 400 volt power motor. So there's a lot more power in the PHEV. But the
48 volt is enough, so much so that it'll actually shut off at highway speeds every now and then.
Yeah, we drove that in the second half of the day. And on the way back into San Fran out of Sonoma on like super awesome roads, when we weren't being ham with a throttle, motor was just off.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of hybrid too.
Mm-hmm.
But more so than like a e-assist hybrid like Ram or Jeep has. It's like it's an actual kind of a hybrid. So just a cool product. The downside for us was we drove the inline six, and people have been telling us all day, journalists, Mazda reps, everyone,
smooth and fast.
You're gonna love it. You can't wait.
Yep.
The inline six, game changer. You gotta drive it. Look, we drive inline sixes a lot. We love them.
Yeah,
they are inherently really smooth.
Not very many inline sixes we've driven that we didn't like.
Look, they're flat plane cranks, and it's 222. There's a rotation for that crank everywhere. There's never like a V8 hum going on. Or
it just
makes
like sense.
Makes a lot of sense. BMW's been doing this forever. They're great. Ours wasn't so smooth.
No,
we had problems. So when we first left the house, and we're not trying to kick this thing in the nuts. We're just telling them like what happened. We leave the house. We get onto the main road. I'm driving. I give it like quarter throttle, trying to hear this. I've never heard this motor. Let's see what it sounds like. Not even full throttle, even half. It goes pop to neutral, revs up, and we have no forward drive. Okay, cool. Cycle it, park, back to drive, then it's fine. It never did that the rest of the day. That was a fluke. We think it's a program. This thing had a couple hundred miles on it. It's only existed on a press launch.
Right.
It's never had break-in miles before that.
Its entire life, it's not gotten break-in or anything.
Right.
It's been driven by monkeys.
Its entire life has been like 8 miles a gallon.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just one of these cars that's been beat to shit. And then when we did get it run in to RPM, after we fell it out a little bit, and we're like, okay, it seems normal. That must have been just a weird thing. I'd floor it, and there's a harmonic hum through the drive line and a vibration in the passenger floorboard. And we can feel like there's a physical resistance to the RPM of the motor, whether it's
something's fighting it.
Something's fighting the revs.
Yeah.
Whether it's rotating assembly in the motor, maybe it's accessory drives on the front, maybe it's that clutch in the transmission.
Yeah.
Who knows? And we had a few of the little weird shifts in the transmission, but nothing like troublesome. We think it's related to that. I think it's a clutch spring in that wet clutch that isn't happy.
Could easily see that.
And when you get to a certain RPM, it's throwing the balance off of everything.
Right.
Because once it got past 4,000, then it ripped to 6.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine. We did some 0-60 testing. The first test, it was slower than the PHEV. That's when we went, okay.
Something's up.
Something's up here. We're not just making this up in our head. Granted, keep in mind, we've never driven this car before. We don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But everyone's been lying to us, apparently, because it's not smooth and it's not fast.
Yeah, we can tell each other there's no way this is what it's supposed to be because people have been raving about it, and this is not, something's up.
Right, and it's not a fair shake either because it's pre-pro. This is not a going to the dealer car. It's probably going to be crushed after the event. So I'm impressed, like, the navigation worked and all that stuff.
It ran. I'm impressed it lasted 5 days. Good for them.
So most of this route on the way back is in a no cell phone reception zone. So we're like, do we call them? Like, how do we tell Mazda there's a problem with this car? Well, lo and behold, there's a follow car. It's a couple guys from Mazda with some spare tires in the back, expecting us to like hit something while we're driving and like have a random flat. Mazda's great at catering to us on this, like making sure everyone's covered on stuff. It was a great event. They roll up in a CX-90 and I flag them down. I'm like, hey, we got an issue. Well, they had an engineer in the car. He drives it, comes back. Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah, there's an issue.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Right? But it's safe to drive back, and it was. And we drove it home. Anyways. But the moral of the story was I can't wait to get it on loan because leaving this event as it is right now, the PHEV I'm super impressed with, and I would get that over the Inline 6 based on this experience, which is not genuine to the product. We need to come back to it.
Right. It's a little unfair, but yes, I'm completely with you. Like, we have to pick a winner out of these two. It's the PHEV wins the day for all these reasons you've just mentioned.
And it was impressive. The way they did hybrid was not annoying.
Right.
There was no CVT nonsense. You had genuine control over the power plants.
Well, and then when you did for it, it was still fun, and it made a good noise, and it revved.
Well, it's an NA engine again.
Yes, NA was nice. And then...
it still handled great.
Yeah, and then you still get the awesome drive modes. You can actually really configure those EV modes and charging modes. I like the function, the control they give you there. And then you also get a 1,500 watt outlet in the back.
Right, like a power boost.
That's freaking awesome.
That's pretty cool.
That means I don't have to use my stupid Coleman dual pump stove or whatever. I just plug some coffee pot in, a kettle in, heat the water up, and I pour over. I'm in business. So we kept really pestered the engineers about a Meridian Edition, their off-road version that they have in the CX-50. We think it would be awesome in the CX-90. I have a feeling in the next couple of years we'll see that, but...
he just said stay tuned.
You heard it here first, so anyways, there's that.
You heard it maybe here first.
Yeah, maybe here first.
All right.
So, anyways, all in all, Brian, I think that's pretty much it. It was a great event. Mazda did a great job. It's interesting to see Mazda's strategy on this. They're kind of getting away from auto show events.
Yeah.
And focusing more on these individualized events because I think... and they're not the only manufacturer doing this. You see Mercedes do this with some things and some other stuff. I think manufacturers are like, look, we can control the narrative.
Right.
It used to be also that COVID was a bit of an issue now. Previously, that's not so much anymore. Right. But you get more one-on-one stuff. You get more curated content. And, you spend the same or less money you would anyways. And
maybe less.
You don't have 10 shows you got to deal with. You got one.
Shows are expensive. I come from that world. That's costly.
Yeah. So anyways, that's it. It was a great week.
Yep.
Very busy, lots of fun, lots going on. Hopefully y'all will enjoy all the content that comes out of this.
Yeah, stay tuned. We've got weeks of content coming out. I mean, just the edit bay is stuffed right now.
Yes. So with that, Brian, thanks for listening to the Texas Truck Podcast.
Yep.
And we'll see you on the next one. Hopefully it's sooner than the last few, the in-betweens. But if not, sorry. We'll see you till the next one.
If not, get over it. Thanks for listening.
All right. See ya. Bye.